UFC Fight Night Randy Brown versus Gabriel Bonfim just wrapped up, and by that I mean they're literally announcing that KO over Randy Brown as I speak. I just wanted to jump on this video early, and we can go ahead and start by jumping into the opener of the prelims. I'll be honest, I was at work and then I had some plans to attend after, so for the first few fights of the card, I'm not gonna know much about what happened within the fights, but I'll try to keep on top of my picks as well as just what I remember seeing in the highlights and what the numbers tell here. So we'll start with the early opener, Zachary Reese versus Jackson McVeigh. I picked Zachary Reese, so we're 1-0. It went 2 rounds. It looks like Zachary Reese was pretty much full steam ahead. Round 1. They went tit for tat on the feet, but it looks like the takedown and significant strikes favored McVeigh and Zachary Reese. I think he actually faced some adversity early. I remember hearing them say that, so maybe he got No knockdown. Okay, I digress. Round 2, but Zachary Reese really started to put it on him. It didn't last long though. I think he got the takedown, got the back, was able to get the rear naked choke finish if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know too much about Jackson McVeigh, but I knew that Zachary Reese had some level of skill in him despite his last fight not going too well against Cedric Dumas with the no contest. But yeah, we take those. I'll go ahead and move on up, but good job, Zachary Reese. To Miles John versus Daniel Marcos. Now, I didn't predict this fight initially because I had been misinformed or just have a bad memory and thought that something had happened with this fight, that there had been a short notice replacement or something. But I said that in the first rendition of my video predicting these fights that I actually gone with Daniel Marcos. I don't think I called KO. I felt decision, but God, he looked good out there tonight. Round 1, he was winning on the feet, got a takedown of his own, was looking good. And then round 2, I want to say, how did he win? Yeah, it was by submission. Round 2, I want to say he got the back as well. I could be wrong about that. I was watching this on and off, but I think I missed the finish. Yeah. He looked good. He was winning on the feet. Miles John just was always a step behind Daniel Marcos. Daniel was ahead of him in the scrambles. It seemed like he kind of led the dance. He was throwing the more effective strikes. Yeah, and it was a good look for Daniel Marcos. I'm not sure what's next for him. I don't think he's ranked, or in this fight was like near a ranked position. But good fight for him, and yeah, we picked him, so we'll take it. 2-0. We move on to Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomez. Jesus Christ, did not mean to do that. Jump scare. We picked Denise Gomez for reasons explainable. Why was the website freaking out if I scrolled up there for a sec? Yeah, Tisha Pennington versus Denise Gomez. We picked Denise Gomez because look, but yeah, it was pretty much what I had said it would be, where it was going to be close on the striking, but the wrestling of Denise Gomez would probably edge it out. In round 2, it looked pretty good for Pennington. You know, she stuffed all 4 takedowns and got more significant strikes. But I think there must have been some big moments in that round that gave Denise it, and maybe the strikes were more impactful. There wasn't a knockdown, but it was a unanimous decision. Maybe it was a 29-28. I take that back. But yeah, round 1 and round 3 tell a good story for Denise Gomez. Round 1 a bit more competitive on the feet, but the wrestling for Gomez probably secured her that. And then round 3, she was able to put the striking behind it as well. Again, Tisha Pennington always gets caught up in these really close fights or just unanimous decision losses, and I didn't like it going into this fight. And if they're willing to get rid of the hair, pick if you dare. I don't know. But we take that. So far, 3-0 on the card. We'll go ahead and move up to Josh Hokett versus Mac Jimenez. We got this right as well. 4-0, baby. I wasn't able to watch this, but I saw he got a very quick KO, heavyweight, and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy tried to stand. Josh Hokett, funny Contender Series guy, cut a mean promo after. I saw memes about Walter Walker. I think he called out Walter maybe, and yeah, he don't want that. You don't want it without the fucking Walker, brother. Let me tell you. Yeah, it looks like the striking favored Josh Hokett for however many were around. 2 knockdowns before the finish. That's pretty funny, considering this fight went less than a minute. If I'm not mistaken, that's how that works. Pretty freaking funny. Yeah, literally nothing else to say. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy tries to stand with a well-rounded heavyweight and gets put out cold. We take those. We move on up the card to Mayra Buena Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. We got this right as well. 5-0, baby. Looking good. Looking sharp. Now, I didn't watch any of this fight. I was driving, and you shouldn't be on your phone while driving. But yeah, it looks like the story that I foretold. Any takedowns that Silva tried to go for, 1 in round 1, 3 in round 3, 0 in round 2. She could have kept up with that pattern. It looked like Cavalcanti had good takedown defense. It was definitely landing more significant strikes. Now, I didn't watch this fight, but I imagined Mayra Bueno Silva was just plodding forward. Cavalcanti looks like she was probably chopping the leg on the back foot and then defensively popping the head back as Mayra came forward. Actually, I take that back. She was just popping the head back as it was. It looks like Bueno Silva was trying to throw leg kicks, which isn't usually her style. But regardless, we called this pretty much to a T. Slick striking from Cavalcanti and takedown defense is going to get her the decision win. We move on. Ricky Simón versus Raoni Barcelos. This is our first L of the card. Unk still got it, and Unk did better. I don't know what happened to Raoni Barcelos. All of a sudden, he has pretty freaking good head movement. He has good striking. I mean, it was a close fight, I'll be honest, but it was unanimous decision, and I agree with the decision. Simón just didn't look too good. He couldn't get anything going. There was some pretty good wrestling scrambles in here where Simón did hold his own. Like, it wasn't a bad loss by any means, but Raoni did just enough. And I want to say round 3, they probably gave to him. Round 1, I think it was 29-28. So maybe it was round 1, Ricky Simón. I saw some people saying that. And then round 2 and round 3 were Barcelos, which sucks because round 3 was so close, as you see. There was even a reversal. And while he only missed 1 takedown, Raoni missed 3, but the strikes are going to do it. It was a good fight by both guys. It was definitely entertaining to watch. You know, the striking started to pick up later in the fight, and the grappling got more, scrambly, which was always fun to watch. You don't know what's going to happen. It was a good showing by Raoni Barcelos. I don't know where he goes from here. I really didn't think he was going to get the win on this fight. I thought he would kind of show that he's good, but he's not, like, good. But I guess maybe I just overhyped Ricky Simón because he was coming off of that filthy KO against Basharat, and I think there might have been a fight before that looked good, but good win for Raoni Barcelos. I don't know what's next for him, but he was able to mix up his striking, grappling against Simón, round by round, probably increasing the pressure as it went on, and was able to edge out the unanimous decision. We're 5-1 on the card, going to the final fight of the prelims, which I got right. 6-1 we end the prelims on. That's a good show. Jamal Emmers versus Haider Emil. Now, this kind of went as I suspected. I didn't think it would go this long. I thought like round 2. Maybe I said decision. Which it was, but I mean, Emil was just taking some damage. I don't know what I'm talking about here. But round 1, Jesus. I think I missed round 1 and I tuned in for 2 and 3. Strikes are pretty even, but it looks like Emmers had more. They were throwing a lot though, 80 to 83, and of those 47 and 50 respectively being significant. It's pretty impressive, as well as 7 takedowns within that time frame of those strikes, and a deep sub attempt from Jamal Emmers. So that was good fight on the whole. I take back everything I just said. I thought I was reading the round 1. I was like, that's really impressive. I was reading full fight. I'm an idiot. But yeah, round 1, it looks like the strikes favored Haider Emil by a little bit, but Jamal Emmers hung up there and got the takedowns. Pretty close on significant. I don't know who they gave that round to. Round 2 looks about the same. Maybe they could give it to Jamal Emmers here because the strikes are so close, even significantly, and the takedowns 3 is definitely going to swing it in your favor. And I think Haider was starting to really look tired. During moments in the second round, I could see him on the ground, like, gasping for air, like, in pain, trying to, like, take big, deep breaths. And I get it, being on bottom position after taking some damage and a round and a half of a high-intensity fight can really hurt to physically breathe and just stay in there mentally. But he was willing to do it, and I applaud him for that. But it was too little too late. Round 3 told more of the same with even less offense from Haider Emil. Jamal Emmers looked good. He was sitting in close guard, still going for it. Eventually got half guard. He was looking for head and arm triangle chokes. He either needs to up his attack on that, because I swear he had almost locked in one like 3 times and fucked it up, or maybe Haider Emil is just better than I'm thinking. Maybe they were too sweaty and slippery, but I feel like a head and arm, once you have the arm up there, it's pretty hard to clear that submission from the bottom position. So I don't know, but it was full steam ahead in round 3. It was just a slow, like, battle to where Emmers was just going to keep winning the round more and more every round. And that's what he did. Took it to a decision. Haider Emil got hit with some pretty big shots in there. Got stung. I don't know if he got dropped at all in the fight. He didn't, but it looked like he took some pretty big shots in there on the ground. He didn't like it, but he stuck through. Good win for Jamal Emmers, though. I think we went, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, 6-1. Yeah, 6-1. I think I said 7 earlier, or maybe in the first 7. But we go 6-1 on the prelims. Not half bad. We move on to the opener of the main card, which I said would be a banger, and it was. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. This fight This fight was good. This fight was really good. It was competitive in the first round, I think. Maybe my memory's failing me, but we'll go ahead and take a look. Yeah. I mean, takedowns are going to favor Tulio. I think Duncan got up pretty easily, though. Significant strikes around the same. But they were definitely putting some pepper on these shots and getting a bit wacky. It seemed like Christian Leroy Duncan couldn't find his range initially, and Tulio was, just being patient, sticking to the basics, and it was going well for him. But then Duncan started to land, started to get unconventional. He was throwing these double jump knees, spinning back fists, spinning elbows. He was going for funny stuff, and Tulio was managing it, but started to look like this guy's getting confidence that I don't want him to get. And it happened. He got very confident very quickly. This was brutal. This was a brutal KO. If I'm not mistaken, God, like that, the KO happened so. It's like didn't happen that long ago, but I have a hard time remembering vividly what happening. It's been a long day. I'm very sorry, but God, I think he had him up against the cage, stung him with a knee, or no, he stung spinning back fist. He had a spinning back fist that like jolted Marco Tulio. He kind of like fell, but chicken legged himself up and was stumbling. And Christian Leroy Duncan came in, hit one down the pipe, and when he kind of shot back, he two over, and Tulio just crumples to the floor. Like ass goes down. He falls, almost face plants his own knee, leans forward, face down, ass up, and then slowly starts to like recline, like a ship crashing into the seabed, just slowly flattens out unconscious. And Christian Leroy Duncan gets one clubbing right hand over the top to the side of Marco Tulio's cranium when he's already unconscious, which kind of kept him there on the ground for a few seconds longer. So brutal finish. Great fight though. Good look for CLD. This was pretty impressive by him. We said this would be a banger fight. We said this would be one of the feature fights of the card, despite being the main event opener or main card opener. But props to CLD. I still think Marco Tulio is pretty good, but it seems like when the going gets tough, he starts to wither. And CLD is the definition of you're going will get tough, and you better be ready. So shout out to CLD. Great win. I'll always be there for whatever his next fight is. And, yeah, maybe Tulio should take some time off after that. Enjoy the holidays. Look to come back in summer, maybe. He took a lot of damage. Not outside, like, even outside of the KO. His nose was bloodied up by the end of the first round, I think. I could be wrong, but, yeah. Good win. We move on. Chris Padilla. Taco! Versus Ishmael, the weight misser Bonfim. How do you miss weight by 5 pounds, gas out, and quit? There was a lot of hate for RDR when he was doing 35-pound weight cuts, making weight 5 times a year and gassed out against like top 5, top 10 level opponent Brendan Allen. Ban this guy. How do you miss weight and suck and gas? You know what I mean? Like, but, I digress. Shout out to Chris Taco Padilla. I was worried here. I was worried my pick wasn't going to be too good. I think we ended the card, 6-1, and we got this right, so 7-1, 8-1, because we got this right too. Yeah, Chris Padilla. I said this will go to a decision, but I'm happy with how this went. Round 1, this tells a story. I'm highlighting this. Jesus, I didn't mean to click on it. I know it's behind my fat head. I can scroll up a bit. But yeah, Ishmael Bonfim was looking nasty on the feet in round 1. This didn't even go to round. It did. Okay. Why don't they have the stats for it? Maybe it was just too quick. But this was looking bad in round 1 for Padilla. I was getting worried. I mean, sure, he had some of the takedowns there, but I mean, he was getting struck up. Okay, I think this is actually glitched, and that's why, because I vividly remember there being. There we go. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Yeah, round 1, look at that. 38-18 with only one, with a takedown on the side of Bonfim. So he was doing good. Granted, the significant strikes favor Padilla, but going into round 2, Bonfim had a lot of confidence, and he really started to tee off on the guard of Padilla. I don't recall Padilla having this much output, but I can just remember, despite the significant strikes even going to Padilla, this might be from the finish. I think it is from the finish. On the feet, at least, Bonfim was tagging him. Not, he was had the guard up, so he was hitting the guard. He was rolling with shots. Sometimes he was just eating them. Bonfim was just slapping combos down the pipe whenever he could, and Padilla would try to get something going, but he just looked like he was sheltered away a little bit. I still thought he was totally in there, like he was managing the damage well. He was avoiding risk, avoiding these big shots, so he was doing good. But from a visual look, you were like, Bonfim's really got the momentum going here. and all of a sudden he gets tired. And I can't remember what he lands. It might have been a good knee or something. I think so Chris Padilla gets Bonfim up against the cage in some sort of sequence, lands a good knee that stuns Bonfim, and instead of like chicken legging or falling to the canvas, he kind of just freezes. He keeps his body language, but he doesn't have this urgency in his eye. All of a sudden he's kind of just standing there like, it'll happen. And that's when Padilla frames off and just starts just brutal elbows. It was beautiful to watch. Bonfim doesn't like any of it. He panic shoots, which sucked because this would have been such a good finishing sequence. And it was, but like assuming Bonfim got the takedown, which happens in a lot of fights, you're like, oh, there's like that was the end of the fight. But the guy just got sloppy. But Padilla defended it, if I'm not mistaken. I could be thinking of a different fight, but Padilla defended the takedown that Bonfim tried to go for when he was hurt, and he reversed it, and he just started teeing off on him. He definitely hit the back of the head like 2 or 3 times. The ref was screaming at him, but Bonfim was like, he wasn't doing anything, man. So it's not like he was hitting the back of the head because Bonfim was just doing much. He was just like protecting the sides of his head. And he was like so flat to the ground that it's very hard to shovel that uppercut that a lot of fighters do when they switch, behind the head cross, shovel to the side, shovel under. Those like the 3 main ground and pound shots from the position Padilla was in. But regardless, he was landing clean shots outside of that. Did get some of those shovel uppercuts, but he was starting to tee off to the head because Bonfim, I guess he was getting hurt. He didn't keep his arm as tight to his head, so he started to open up that gap for shots to come through, and the ref didn't like it. And he called it there. And then this was a great win for Chris Padilla, undefeated in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. I'm glad Ismael Bonfim lost, because if he would have won, then there would have been that asterisk of, oh, he missed weight, though, but everybody would forget about it and still be on this hype train, which I don't like. I'm glad Padilla won for that reason, I'll be honest. But it was a good showing from both men. I hope Ismael does better going forward in his career professionally with meeting the weight requirement that he signs the contract on for. Just great win for Padilla. I don't think Bonfim was ranked. Maybe Padilla should get someone right outside the rankings, or maybe, this is lightweight, so the top 15 is still pretty stacked. So let's build Padilla a little bit more, get him a little bit more experience. I don't think Ismael Bonfim is something huge in the lightweight division, but a great win nonetheless, and sick. I think that puts us 6-1, 7-1, 8-1. Yeah, 8-1. We go 8-2 here, though. What a website. I'm going to have to refresh this once we get to these fights. But we move on. Muslim Salikov versus Uros Medic. This puts us at 8-2. Boy, am I stupid. I definitely saw that Uros Medic had way more KOs than Muslim Salikov, but I was on the Salikov bandwagon after these 2 vicious KOs he's got in his recent fights. This fight was very short. Uros Medic, I think, landed a straight within like an exchange and just put Salikov down, which usually Salikov's the one to do. I don't have much to say about this fight. I was wrong. I wasn't familiar with Uros Medic's game like that. Props to him. I'll probably do more research and pick him going forward in a lot of fights. He looked good in the short time that he had to fight. Yeah, man, I don't know what else is left for Muslim Salikov. He's pretty old. Uros Medic looked good, though. I'm curious to see what he can do in the future. Great KO. I remember the fight before this ending, and I had something to do, so I closed my phone because ESPN plays 30 minutes of ads between fights when there's finishes. And then by the time I tuned back in, literally the replay of Salikov getting put out cold on the canvas was playing, and I was like, welp, great win by Medic. But yeah, that puts us at 8-2. Good win. We'll go ahead and move up. Let me refresh this because we need to get to this one. Like, you know what? This is annoying, dude. All right, screw it. We'll just we'll free ball this. So Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales, because I do remember this fight. I watched it. It was over quick. I want to say it was round 1. So they're kind of striking on the feet. Not much is happening. Some grappling sequences start, and I don't quite recall how. I think Joseph Morales might have gotten into side control on Matt Schnell, and I think he passed over. It was looking for that Kimura on the top, which is nasty. But then he shot his foot over and underneath like the armpit area of Schnell in order to, once he roll, have a crucifix from the back, which would then allow him to transfer to the submission he got, because he had the back, and then Schnell went to get up by turning into him, which allowed him to shoot in the guillotine grip, shoot the leg over, other leg comes through, you get the figure four lock on the outside. And he got the tap because that figure four lock doesn't allow Matt Schnell to pass into side control on either side, which he could have gotten the Von Flue or at least relieve pressure from that one side, or probably just made it uncomfortable for Morales on the ground from the other side. But great adjustment by Morales. This fight was over quick. I was wrong. This puts us at 8-3. I wasn't familiar with Joseph Morales' game. I knew Schnell wasn't a good fighter, but I just thought this guy's making his debut against Schnell, who's experienced. I should have known better. I should have done my research. But tough is a very hard thing to enjoy these days. The fights will be good, but the seasons, the coaches, the themes, the direction, it's just not entertaining. So I can't be bothered. But yeah, great win for Joseph Morales. Get him someone top 10. You know, if he's that good to be beating Matt Schnell early on. I mean, Steve Erzeg's highlight reel included Matt Schnell. So Joseph Morales could be something. He looked really good in the grappling. He looked decent in the striking for the short time that it was on. But we need to go ahead and move up to the main event here because this just happened right before I pressed record to start this video some 22 minutes ago, if I had to bet. This was interesting because it wasn't a good look for Brown winning. Well, let's just start from the beginning. Round one, and it's not going to, that's so annoying. Let me see if I can get round two. But round one, Bonfim is just throwing these leg kicks. He's taken a note of how his brother lost earlier in the night. I should have mentioned that in the Bonfim fight. The leg fights were crippling Bonfim. I didn't mention that, and I feel so stupid because that was such a pivotal thing in the fight that really took away his movement and his pop in his shots for the most part. The leg kicks of Padilla against Ismael Bonfim were amazing. But I think Bonfim saw his brother lose that way and said, maybe I can use the leg kicks this way. And he was. I don't know. Can we see strikes by target? Yeah. Round one, 75% of his strikes were to the legs, and they were good leg kicks. Brown wasn't checking him. Brown wasn't floating with him. He was plodding forward on his front leg, trying to get his jab off, being a longer fighter when he usually has these bouts. And he was just getting kicked and trying to swing with it, like that didn't hurt. Nonchalant swing, that didn't hurt at all. And you're just lying to yourself because it played in later in the fight. You saw his movement get starched. He was trying to switch stances. He would get kicked by the leg kick and then try to do this mental reset, I'm good, without turning his hips. And Bonfim was able to fire another one in. Like, he got 2 leg kicks within 3 seconds. Full reset. And that's only for Randy Brown to blame himself for just trying to be nonchalant about not checking leg kicks or just addressing them. But it was still a good first round from Bonfim. If we look, I mean, they were pretty even. The leg kicks were adding up for Bonfim, but Rude Boy was getting his strikes in. Bonfim was doing the better of it, though. But round two, Brown comes out good. He got a couple combos off that started to set the tone for the round. Bonfim didn't get as many leg kicks off, but towards the finishing sequence, he did. He got about 3 leg kicks off that Brown just didn't really do anything to check. They got into another little exchange scuffle. Bonfim gets the clinch, throws a knee. Brown sinks to his ass cheeks and slams the back of his head on the canvas. Not out cold, definitely like completely stunned. Doesn't know where he is. Wasn't a good look. But he started to come up and immediately put his hands up to block whatever ground and pound was coming. Look to wrestle up or hold on to a leg and recover. But the ref didn't give him a chance. It was a good knockdown, and he was very badly hurt. But I think the knockdown looked bad enough to stop the fight, I'll agree. But the movement after showed that he was able to continue, at least in those few seconds. If Bonfim had landed 2-3 ground and pound shots that looked like they were damaging to Brown, end it. But I feel like that kind of zapped the hype out of the KO because immediately when a guy immediately is protesting a finish, and he's like kind of coherent and he's standing and he's like upset, it makes sense. If a guy's protesting, like Pereira versus Strickland, when Strickland was protesting a finish, when the ref's holding him up and he's stumbling, cool. Granted, Randy Brown was a little bit chicken-legged, but on the ground, what does your stance matter? If you can defend yourself for 10, 20 seconds, you could get your wits back, and we don't know what would have happened in this fight. Brown was starting to get momentum. I went with Randy Brown. I'm not just doing all this because I'm coping. We ended the card, I think, 8-4. Not bad. But I felt like, I saw a lot of fans. I was checking Instagram. I think I commented on one, and it's getting quite a lot of likes here. It was a bit early. It was a great knee. It was a great knockdown. I think 1 or 2 solid strikes probably would have kept Brown down and potentially put him out cold, which would have been a sick way to end the night. But I felt like just that sequence of a great knee. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's over. That knee wasn't like. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to try to keep making analogies. It was a good looking knee that initially was like, that could be a finish. And then as the ref is shooting down to put his hands up within the split second after Randy Brown hits the ground, Randy Brown's hands are coming up to defend and he's getting ready, and it's over. I felt like it was just a bit of a blue ball of a finish, but it's okay. Neither guy really had like a lot riding on the line. I think Bonfim was ranked 15. Brown was outside the rankings. I'm not sure what's next for these gentlemen. Can't go much higher for Bonfim, I think, before he might get fraud checked. Say fraud checked, he's established, but I think he might lose to the upper echelon opponents if they push him too hard. But yeah, this card delivered pretty well despite the name value. I figured I would just go ahead and get my recap out early since the card just ended while my brain is fresh with the fights that I had seen. I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Good card. I don't want to say a sour ending because it was a good finish. Like, it was what we want to see as an MMA fan. But I have a right to bicker and peck at things, and I think all the other fans agree that we wanted just a bit more out of that finish. But it's okay. I digress. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I am very hyped for UFC 322 coming up next weekend. I'll try to do a press conference coverage if there's any big hype there, any news during week, any fight cancellations. We pray to God that don't happen. But yeah, if y'all like the video, please leave a comment, subscribe, share, like, whatever floats your boat and doesn't sink mine. I hope y'all have a great night. I hope you didn't lose any money on this card. And if you did, this is a very bad card to bet on. But see ya.